blockchain Twitter will have you convinced that if you're not tracking 17 different on-chain metrics at 2 in the morning, you're basically throwing your money into a bonfire. But here's the real question. Out of the flood of data that hits your screen every single day, how do you actually know what matters? We're living in an era where every project has a dashboard, every influencer has a thread, and every metric sounds important until the price dumps 50% and suddenly no one's talking about it anymore. The stakes couldn't be higher, because choosing the wrong signal to follow isn't just an intellectual mistake, it's a wallet-draining one. Let's start with the basics, because the on-chain versus off-chain debate sounds technical, but it's really just asking one simple question. Is the evidence actually recorded on the blockchain itself, or is it somewhere else entirely? Think of on-chain data like a receipt that can never be altered. Wallet, activity, transaction volume, token flows, smart contract interactions, all of it is publicly verifiable, permanently etched into the ledger like a tattoo you can never remove. Off-chain fundamentals, on the other hand, are more like a Yelp review. They tell you something real, but they live outside the system, and someone could theoretically spin or cherry pick them. We're talking developer activity on GitHub, partnership announcements, regulatory filings, team backgrounds, roadmap progress, and the ever-slippery concept of community sentiment. There was a time, roughly 2020 and 2021, when the on-chain maximalists were winning the argument loudly and confidently. Active addresses were surging, total value locked was hitting record highs. And the mantra was simple. If the chain is being used, the token has value. Then, 2022 happened, and protocols with genuinely impressive on-chain activity collapsed because their off-chain fundamentals, like does the team actually know what they're doing, turned out to matter quite a lot. The psychological whiplash from that period was brutal, and honestly, most people still haven't fully processed it. Vitalik Buterin himself has said that a token's value should ultimately reflect the utility of its underlying network. Yet even he acknowledges that utility alone has never been sufficient to stop a panic-driven sell-off when macro conditions turn ugly. Here's a historical truth that should humble all of us. Every single cycle in crypto has convinced participants that this time the fundamentals are finally being priced in correctly, and every single cycle has eventually proven that conviction premature. In 1999, tech company revenues were real, the fundamentals were real, and the Nasdaq still dropped 78% over the following 2 years before everything recovered and then some. The pattern that keeps repeating is that on-chain data tells you what is happening right now, while off-chain fundamentals tell you what is likely to matter 18 to 36 months from now, and conflating the two timelines is where most retail investors get absolutely wrecked. A protocol might show declining daily active users on-chain today because it's in a building phase, while its developer commit frequency off-chain is absolutely exploding, and missing that gap means you sell exactly before the next leg up. On-chain fundamentals fit into the broader, predictable cycle of adoption curves, the same way every major technology has. Hype precedes utility, utility precedes durability. The crypto community has started developing its own shorthand wisdom here. Metrics like fee revenue per token or protocol earnings yield are gaining credibility as cross-checks that combine on-chain verifiability with off-chain business logic. And analysts like Messari and Token Terminal have built entire careers helping people bridge that gap. One of the biggest misconceptions we need to address head-on is that high transaction volume automatically signals value it doesn't. Because wash trading, bot activity, and incentivized transactions can absolutely inflate those numbers beyond recognition. Similarly, a team with impressive LinkedIn profiles and a polished white paper is not a substitute for a protocol that anyone is actually using. And conflating prestige with performance is a trap that catches even experienced investors. So what do you actually do with all of this in practice? You build a simple 2-column checklist. One side for on-chain health metrics like fee revenue, unique active wallets, and token velocity. The other side for off-chain durability signals like developer retention, regulatory clarity, and partnership depth. Then, You only get meaningfully sized into a position when both columns are showing green, because conviction from just one side of that ledger has historically been how people get very, very poor. The discipline here isn't about being the smartest person in the room. It's about not letting the loudest metric of the week override your process. Position size should be a function of signal convergence, not enthusiasm, and the investors who have consistently survived multiple cycles are almost universally the ones who got boring and systematic about their entries, rather than heroic and impulsive. At the end of the day, the on-chain versus off-chain debate is a false binary long-term value. Almost always requires evidence from both dimensions, and pretending otherwise is just a form of intellectual laziness dressed up in technical jargon. The chains don't care how convinced you are, and the market will not reward you for passion. It rewards preparation and process, and the quiet, unsexy discipline of waiting for your criteria to be met before pulling the trigger. You don't need to be right about every metric. You need a framework that keeps you alive long enough to benefit from the ones that matter. The investors who sleep well aren't the ones who've found the perfect signal. They're the ones who've built a process they trust, regardless of which way the market moves next. And if you're looking to take that same disciplined, fundamentals first mindset and apply it to building real, tangible wealth outside of crypto, whether that's through real estate investing, home contracting work, or finding the right lenders to get you started, check out our links in the description below.